So just take that into consideration for your character. Hopefully you guys find some really cool stuff. I'm hoping that some of this was useful to some of y'all. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever seen how all this stuff works. The ground game stuff is really what got me a little bit excited, because like I can do a move that leads into another move. It essentially forces them up and becomes unholdable. And that's just freaking useful. Like, that's just useful information, especially in a game that doesn't really have a ground game. So whenever you do get those rare scenarios, you can at least be like, okay, I know what to do at least. You know, I have an idea of what I can do. You know what I mean? So that's good.
Alright guys, welcome back to Dragon Guy Follow-Ups. This time things will be a little bit different, because we're going to be looking at tech that was originally discovered for another character. So I highly suggest that you go check out Master's educational stream that happened a couple of days ago, so that you get a better understanding of how the tech works in general. All these setups. In short, this is related to a unexplored property for the ground game in DOA5LR. So yeah, definitely check it out. Show the ninja some love. All links will be in the description. But today we're going to be looking at how Jann Lee can apply that tech using his specific set of tools. So to start things off, we're just going to go over the basic setup that you can use in neutral. When you've gotten a stun and you launch, what specific setup you have to follow. So the first thing that you're going to want to look for, specifically if you're going to try and find a similar setup with your character, is that you're going to look for a move that ends a juggle in this specific fashion. You see how the opponent just kind of springs back onto the front? That's the property that you're going to be looking for. So you have to go into your character's move list and see if they have a juggle ender that looks like that. That's the first step. And the reason for this is that this specific type of ender basically works similarly to a heavy knockdown, in the sense that it gives you a pretty big amount of advantage after hit. So for Jann Lee's case, it doesn't necessarily work the same way it works for Hayabusa's, because you don't have a low, or at least a low with a string attached to it, that is unholdable and also doesn't tech, right? Jann Lee doesn't have that. So what I found for Jann Lee is that you can use 2K, and this requires a specific method, since if you do the 9KK and then you immediately do 2K, you're going to get a ground hitting move instead. So the method that you have to use is that you have to cancel a crouch into the 2K. Now you see that I do it here. It doesn't look like I'm doing it, but I am canceling a crouch into the move. So whenever you're free stepping into the foreground or crouching, 2K reverts to the move that it originally is. It doesn't give you the ground hit. So that's very important for this setup. It's not very hard to do, but you might have to get a feel for the timing. So you hit with 2K. Now here's where things get interesting. First, we're going to cover the scenario in which the opponent techs the 9KK, right? So if the opponent techs the 9KK, you will still put the 2K out, and if they tech, they can't hold it because the move comes out way earlier. So in fact, if they try to low hold, you can whiff punish their hold attempt with either option from the 2K, either the low or the mid. And because of that, the rule of thumb is that if you do the 2K and they tech, they essentially have to think about what they're going to do next, because they have to respect both follow-ups. You have a low and a mid follow-up. So this can open up some situations where you can like pressure the opponent on block, or you can just go straight up and throw them. It opens up that option since you've already put something out that you have to respect, right? So that covers the initial tech situation. where the opponent just teched away the entire setup. Now we're gonna go when the 2K does actually hit. Now as stated before, and this is very important, you need to find a load that doesn't tech the opponent. It's not a force tech. It hits them on the ground, but they have the option to stay there or tech. 2K is such a move for Jann Lee. So when you hit the 2K, you get two possible scenarios again. So on hit, the 2K will give you plus 24 frames. And it's at this point that the logic for unholdables stops working. You don't no longer need to have a move that hits prior or a little bit next to the frame of the amount of advantage that you have for the setup to work. You have 24 frames of advantage, right? You can use any move that hits the opponent grounded that's between that range of advantage, and technically speaking that move will combo, and because of it the opponent will be force teched. So in this specific situation I use 1P. This is going to be the first option that we're going to look at. So again, covering the bases after you've already hit them with 2K the first time, you have your plus 24, right? So you go for 1P, and in this situation the opponent techs. Because of the position that they're on the ground, they can only tech backwards. They can't tech to the sides, they can only tech backwards. So this is very important, because your 1P will whiff, but you're completely safe because you're a pretty big, you're pretty far away from your opponent, right? And this can create a very interesting situation where they can try to run up to you and press a button, try to punish you, maybe throw you, and oh shit, I just fucking did the 1PK follow-up and I got you in counter hit for an unstaggerable stun, right? It's super good. In the other situation where they don't tech and they stay on the ground after the initial 2K hit, well, you get the 1P follow-up and it's guaranteed. They can't tech it away. So what I like about this setup is that it works in a pretty synergistic fashion. Like I stated before, you have 24 frames that you can use to just like do whatever you want with the opponent, right? Only revolving blows. So Jann Lee has two other specific options that you can use. The first one being that you can just do 2K twice in a row, and it gives you more advantage on hit, and it creates the same situation as the first 2K, but of course you're farther away, so it's more of a neutral situation. However, another interesting option that I found is doing 4P after the initial 2K hit. So you do 4P after the initial 2K hit, and because this move is a true mid, it will also hit them on the ground and force them up. Now this creates a situation where if you force them up with 4P, you're at -5, right? But again, this creates a situation where the opponent still has to respect you because you have a follow-up from the 4PP and you're right there in their face, right? And as a result, you can also go on into Dragon Stance for the same -5 to try and mitigate the situation, right? So it's a pretty interesting situation, a pretty interesting option that you have from the setup. And if they take away, well, it creates a similar situation, but you're like hella minus, so you have to look out for that. But that's essentially it for the basic setup that you're going to do on neutral. So now for the second application of the tech, it's going to be related to any kind of bouncy wall in a stage, and the thing that you're going to look for in your character's moveset this time is a move that can spike down the opponent. So when you find your move, you'll notice that when you finish a juggle or do it on an opponent's back, it works fully like a hard knockdown. But for a character that doesn't have, say, like a ground throw, this can give you a guaranteed follow-up, meaning a guaranteed force stick. So for Jann Lee specifically, I wasn't able to really find much, at least to the level of what Hayabusa can do. but I did find a specific setup that you can use. So you're going to be aiming for a side wall splat here, and most wall splatting moves work, but preferably I would say go for 6 H plus K. You get your side wall splat, and then you do Comet Strike, and that's 214p for Jann Lee. You get your side wall splat, and then you do Comet Strike, and then you just hope it hits the opponent's back. I really don't have any better way of explaining it. It's just, you just have to hope it hits on their back. If you do, however, well, good news, you just got a 1p or 1k guaranteed follow-up. You can do either one. It's pretty good, but again, the setup being so unreliable just is not a good thing in my opinion. I'm still on the fence of whether it is viable or not, but it's a cool thing that you can use for maybe like a combo, or I don't know. That's all I could find specifically for this character. I guess you don't really need it. You do already get pretty good wall setups on these walls, pretty good damage, so it's more of a novelty, but yeah, at least it has something, right? So now Master goes on to show a setup involving the ceiling stages, with Hayabusa's launch throw, of course. Jann Lee doesn't have a launch throw. That'd be pretty ridiculous, although sick as hell. So the next best thing you have is a power launcher. Unfortunately, I wasn't really able to find a setup with this. You don't have enough time to get behind the opponent's back, and your spike moves are way too slow, so he doesn't really have anything for this. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. You already have pretty good setups to get either really good damage or advantage, or you have a lot of setups involving the ceiling. So yeah, I wasn't unfortunately able to find something in this specific scenario for Jann Lee. I did, however, find some pretty interesting setups on Danger Zone, because the stage is just hella whack, and it evolves on Techables, so I don't really know how viable these are, because it's fucking Danger Zone, but they do look pretty sick, I gotta say. So that's basically it for this Dragon Guy follow-up. Again, go check out Master's stream. He shows some really cool stuff with Hayabusa, and again, you can get a better understanding of all these setups so that you can attempt to find something with your character. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, leave me your suggestions. Tell me how this tech works for you, if you find anything else, even if it's with another character. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Cheers.